lonely, broken, failed. Those are the new labels society slaps on a man whenever they find out he's single and getting older. Our culture is terrified of solitude. It pushes connection as a fix for a disease it invented, the fear of being by yourself. You are told from the day you are born that your life is a quest to find your other half. What if that's the greatest lie ever told? What if the man walking alone isn't missing something? What if he's protecting something? When the Stoics spoke of freedom, they weren't talking about politics. They were talking about the mind. Epictetus, a former slave, taught that you can be in chains and still be the freest man in the room if you own your inner world. Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man in his time, was surrounded by chaos, war, plague, and betrayal. Where did he retreat? Not to his wives, not to his advisors. He retreated inward, to his inner citadel, to himself. That is the singleness we're talking about. It's not about relationship status. It's about a state of sovereignty. The modern world has new chains. They aren't iron, they're digital, they're emotional. You're now a slave to a red receipt, to a like, to the validation of someone who is themselves just as lost as you are. This video is not about hating love. It's about a truth no one talks about. You cannot build a life of power for two until you have built a fortress for one. Today, we are not talking about loneliness. We are talking about power. These are the 7 hidden benefits of staying single. Number 6 is an ancient psychological armor you'll wish you knew how to build a decade ago. If you're done being a slave to the noise, smash that like button. We're about to unplug you. This first one is the foundation. It's the reason most men fail before they even start, and it's the one they'll call you cold for being able to master. Benefit 1, the advantage of emotional independence. The average person is a slave to validation. Their entire emotional state is a puppet, and the strings are held by everyone else, their boss, their friends, and especially their partner. A text left on read, a change in tone, a bad mood, these tiny things can detonate their entire day. Why? Because their sense of self is externalized. They've given their emotional car keys to someone else and are just begging them not to crash it. The smart man who walks alone understands a core Stoic truth. You cannot control what others do, feel, or think. You can only control your response. By staying single, you are given a gift, a raw, unfiltered training ground to build this emotional armor. There is no one to blame for your bad moods. There is no one to text you, "Good morning," to make you feel validated. You are forced every single day to find your center of gravity within yourself. You learn to self-soothe. You learn to self-validate. You learn to be the source of your own stability, not a refugee seeking it in someone else. This isn't coldness, it's invulnerability. It's what Epictetus meant by focusing only on what is yours to control. When you are your own emotional anchor, you are no longer a ship tossed on the waves of someone else's drama. You are the lighthouse. This power, once built, makes you unshakable, with or without a partner. That first step is your armor. And if you take this to heart daily, you will master your internal world. But you don't forge armor just to sit still. You forge it so you can go to battle. This next benefit is the offense. It's the one that separates the man who survives from the man who conquers emotionally. Benefit 2, the advantage of radical focus. Understand this. Every great work, every empire built, every masterpiece created was born from a state of uninterrupted obsession. Call it deep work, call it flow, call it monk mode. It is the single most valuable state a man can achieve. Now, what is the number one killer of this state? It's not your phone, it's not your habits, It's context switching. It is the fragmentation of your mind. A relationship, by its very nature, demands fragmentation. It's the check-in texts, the date nights, the shared calendar, the mental load of processing their emotions, their day, their dramas. Every message that says, "Can we talk?" is a grenade thrown into your flow state. The man who is single by choice is not single to be lazy. He is single to be dangerous. He reclaims 100% of his cognitive bandwidth. He can wake up at 5 a.m. and work for 4 straight hours on his business, his body, or his mind with 0 interruptions. He doesn't have to negotiate his schedule. He doesn't have to compromise his mission for a quick brunch. This creates a compound effect that is impossible to overstate. A man who gets 2 hours of deep work a day will be in a different universe than the man who gets 15-minute scraps. This isn't just about grinding. This is about building a life so powerful that you become the architect of your own reality. We're moving. The next benefit is purely logical, and that's precisely why it makes people so emotional when you say it out loud. Benefit 3. Total resource command. A man has 3 primary resources: his time, his energy, and his capital. The modern dating world is a vampire for all 3. Let's not be polite about it. Think of the cost, not just in money, but in focus. The endless swiping on apps designed to be addictive, the dinners, the gifts, the trips, the opportunity cost of thousands of hours spent in relational maintenance that could have been spent building a skill, a body, or a business. The smart man sees this as a chief executive. He looks at his life like a P&L sheet. He understands that every unit of energy he spends placating a needless argument is a unit of energy he cannot spend on solving a complex problem at work. Every dollar he spends on a performative date is a dollar he cannot invest in an asset. When you are single, you are the sole director of these resources. You become a no-man by default. You can divert 100% of your surplus income into index funds, into a new laptop, into a course, into your own company. You can divert 100% of your weekend into reading, training, or absolute restorative rest, not into a mandatory social obligation. This isn't being cheap or selfish. This is being strategic. It is understanding that to build an empire, the king must first control his own treasury. You are building leverage, and with that leverage, you buy your freedom. We're 3 points in, and if you're still here, you know this isn't your typical surface-level advice. These are profound truths. If you are finding value in this lesson, go ahead and hit that like button. And if you're watching from the US, drop a comment. I want to know exactly where this wisdom is landing tonight. We've got 4 more to go, and the next one will cut deep into your personality. Benefit 4. The advantage of forging an unfiltered identity. Here's a dark psychological truth. Most people don't know who they are. Their personality is a mosaic of other people's expectations. In a relationship, this accelerates. It's called identity fusion. You start to mirror your partner. You adopt their hobbies, their opinions, their speech patterns. You sand off your edges to fit together more smoothly. And one day, you look in the mirror and you don't recognize the person staring back. You've become a we and you've lost the I. The man who is single, truly single, not just in between relationships, he is forced into a confrontation with himself. There is no one to copy. There is no one to impress. Do you actually like hiking? Or did your ex just drag you along? Do you actually believe that political talking point? Or are you just echoing your social circle? Solitude is the crucible where an authentic self is forged. You have to sit with your own thoughts, your own boredom, your own cringe. And you have to build a life that you genuinely respect. You find your non-negotiables. You discover your core values, not by writing them in a journal, but by living them without an audience. This process is brutal, but you emerge from it with an identity made of steel, not of social consensus. You know exactly who you are. And that kind of self-possession is the most attractive and powerful force on earth. That's 4 down. Moving on. This, right here, is where we separate the men from the boys. Benefit 5. The advantage of weaponizing your solitude. Society has trained you to be terrified of one thing: being lonely. Loneliness is painted as a disease, a failure, a state of profound suffering and insufficiency. And because people fear it, they make terrible decisions to avoid it. They stay in dead-end relationships. They swipe on people they don't even like. They fill their calendars with noise to drown out the silence. The smart man, the Stoic, does not run from this silence. He runs toward it. He learns to distinguish loneliness, which is a feeling of lack, from solitude, which is a state of power. Solitude is the laboratory. It's where you dissect your own failures, free from judgment. It's where you hear your own inner voice, not the echo of your partner's. It's where you face your demons and tame them. Marcus Aurelius was never more powerful than when he was alone in his tent, writing to himself, auditing his own soul. When you are single, you learn to weaponize solitude. You use it to recharge, to plan, to create. You stop seeing it as a void and start seeing it as a space you fill with your own purpose. Once you've mastered this, you're free. You no longer need to be around people. You choose to be. This means you will never, ever again tolerate a bad relationship out of a fear of being alone. Now, we're at number 6. I promised you this was the one you wouldn't see coming, and if you remember one thing from this entire video, make it this. Benefit 6. The God's eye view of social dynamics. When you are in the game, you cannot see the scoreboard. When you're deep in the dating world, you're a player. You're lost in the emotions, the strategies, the drama. You're reacting, not observing. You're trying to figure out what she wants, what society wants, what the rules are. But when you take yourself out of the game, when you are single by choice, you are no longer a player. You become the observer. You're the man on the hill watching the battle in the valley, and from this God's eye view, you finally see everything. You see the psychological games people play, not because you're playing them, but because you're watching them with a detached mind. You see the validation seeking, you see the subtle power plays, you see the compliance tests, you see the insecure avoidant traps. This is the dark psychology advantage. You start to see the matrix. You watch your friends navigate their relationships and you see the patterns they're blind to. This observational power is a superpower. It makes you a master of human nature. You learn more about relationships by being out of them and watching them than most people learn by being in them their entire lives. And should you choose to re-enter the game one day, you don't enter as a pawn. You enter as a grandmaster, unmanipulatable. That was 6, and it leads us perfectly to the final, most powerful benefit of all. Benefit 7, the advantage of high standards. Here is the great paradox. The man who masters being single becomes the most attractive partner. Why? Because he is not needy. Neediness is the ultimate repellent. It's the scent of desperation. It's the energy of a man who will compromise his morals, his mission, and his identity just for a chance at not being alone. The man we've been describing, the man who is his own emotional source, who has a mission, who controls his resources, who knows who he is, and who does not fear solitude. This man doesn't need a relationship. He chooses one. And because he doesn't need one, his standards become uncompromising. He no longer settles for surface-level attraction or easy access. He now demands that his standards be met. He asks questions like, does she elevate my life or complicate my mission? Does she add value to my trajectory or require I divert it? Is she a companion or an anchor? He would rather have solitude than mediocre companionship. This creates an aura, a gravity. He is not a beggar. He is a king. He is selecting an equal to join his empire, not a damsel to save him from distress. This is the ultimate power position. It's the only way to build a relationship that is 100% authentic, 0% compromise. It's the only way to find a partner who is a true asset, not just a beautiful liability. So no. The smartest men don't stay single because they're broken or awkward or can't get a girl. They stay single because they are building. They are forging themselves in the fires of solitude. They are building their inner citadel, brick by brick. They are playing a different game, with different rules, for a different prize. They are protecting their focus. They are building their sovereignty. They are mastering themselves first, before they ever consider merging with another. This path isn't for everyone. It's harder. It's quieter. And yes, at times it requires you to face the parts of yourself you've been running from. But the reward isn't just a better relationship down the line. The reward is you, a version of you that is whole, powerful, and truly free. If this message resonated with you, or if you are on this path, comment by telling us how long you have been single. We are building a community of men who choose the less traveled path, the path of the sovereign mind. Also, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on the next transformative lesson. Now, take this knowledge, close the tab, and begin to apply it ruthlessly. Your work is not here. Your work is in the world. Go build your fortress.